Yeah, so we look at the Vata nature and the imbalances. So Vata people tend to be quite anxious, fearful, indecisive, excitable. They change very easily, move from one thing to another. Quite enthusiastic as well, very animated when they're talking, so lots of movement. And yeah, it's also very creative. They come up with lots of ideas. But the downside is that because of the hyperactivity, tend to suffer from insomnia. Of also digestion is very irregular, so quite often move from constipation to diarrhea. Or so there's lots of irregularity back and forth, and they can also have problems with food allergies and just that sense of not being grounded, and especially when they lose too much weight. So for a Vata person, it's important not to lose weight. You need to make sure they stay like yeah, eat enough, because Vata people tend to forget to eat as well because they're so busy with so many other things. And then suddenly it's like evening and you haven't had any meal the whole day. So the Pitta people tend to be very ambitious, like very fiery, very proud, and also quite controlling. They like to have everything in a certain way, in a certain structure, and very strict with time and appointments. And they also tend to be very well spoken. They like public roles. They like to be leaders. They are very good at public speaking. So, and then sometimes you might be thinking maybe now, okay, I don't recognize, or I recognize some, I don't recognize others, but that's natural because you don't have to have all the qualities of all the doshas. As I said, you can have just a few of the qualities of each of them, and so you wouldn't recognize some of them in yourself, even though if you're like more Pitta dominant, you say, okay, but I'm not so aggressive or whatever. That's possible. Then you just have some other qualities of the Pitta dosha. So. Yeah, so because of the fire, there's usually lots of inflammation, fevers, infections are very much Pitta things. So skin problems, ulcers, acidity, eye problems. So everything that causes heat in the body is tends to be more Pitta related. The Kapha can be very patient, very forgiving, but also very slow. Um, yeah, they tend to be very peaceful in the sense that they don't go into arguments. People like to argue a lot. Like they're the ones that would really go into a debate with you about a certain topic, and they want to win as well all the time. But a Catholic person would just be like, "Well, I don't care about winning. It's all good if you win." So yeah, so the kapha imbalances more, like as I said already, like gaining weight, anything that's growing, like tumors. Yeah, they also tend to collect a lot of liquid, or let's say fort, that's fluids in the body. So that's more of a kapha thing as well. Yeah. Yeah, and it's important for kafas not to sleep too much. So because if especially sleeping in the afternoon, if you're sleeping in the afternoon, then you're more likely to increase your kapha. So for Vata people, it's actually nice to have a short nap in the afternoon, especially in the summer. So that's an important one with the seasons. Each season is kind of connected to each dosha in a way. So in the autumn season, which is the most vulnerable for the Vata dosha, because the autumn season is dry, it's cold, it's wet. Well, it can be wet, but yeah, I'm just thinking. Yeah, it can be wet, but it's more about the coldness and the dryness of the autumn season, because we're moving from the heat from the summer season into that transition phase where it becomes colder and more windy. And that's an important time to actually balance the vata, because it's very, a a lot of Vata people have difficulties in that season. They feel that the Vata is going up a lot more. But summertime, they love, I mean, because of the, especially the cold quality. So Kapha and Vata both have the quality of cold. So both, but the difference between Vata and Kapha is that Kapha can handle dry heat because Kaphas tend to be oily, but Vata need more moist heat. So yeah, it's and then when we look at the autumn season, Pitta people are quite happy when autumn starts because it's like, oh, finally the summer has been so hot, they need some cooling down. And for Kapha people, it can be a little bit of a challenge, especially if it's a bit more wet as well in the countries, because they need a bit more dryness in their system. And and especially when we're talking about the season, the spring season. So, like in the winter, actually, your digestion tends to be quite high. In the summer, digestion is quite low. I know that's a bit counterintuitive in a way, but that's kind of why we eat less in the summer than we do in the winter. We eat heavier foods in the winter and lighter foods in the summer. So after the winter has passed, so we tend to like bulk up, we eat very heavy foods, and then the spring comes, and spring is a time when the sun is shining again. So you can imagine that the sun is kind of melting the heaviness down. That's why a lot of Kapha people have problems when in the springtime with the allergies because they've accumulated lots of heaviness, extra heaviness from the heavy winter foods, and then the spring comes and it's all kind of almost like dissolving or something. Like the heat is warming the body up and they're releasing all the accumulated heaviness from the winter. So springtime is the best time to actually fast.